And welcome back to episode 23 of the Quiet Man series. This episode is headlined Criticism and Communication. The actual chapter in the book starts with a story. I was with some friends in Bristol and playing a card game with their young daughter, a young girl called Katie. And she was really keen on winning. Particularly, she was keen on winning money. And I said to her afterwards, I said, Katie, why do you like money so much? And she turned around to me and she said, because it helps. And I thought that is the best reason why we need to make money that I've ever heard. Somerset Maugham quipped once that money's like a sixth sense. Without it, we can't enjoy the other five. And my relationship with money is, to say the least, probably pretty tenuous. In the beginning of the book, I say that if you're looking to make money through reading this book, you'd probably be better off writing a book on how to rob a bank yourself. If there's one thing certain when it comes to money, I am not a slave to a salary. I've never been dependent on it, and I've always lived life skirting on the edges. Sometimes I got it, sometimes I haven't. One of the ways I was starting to make money, though, was my little A to Z, which the concept had come up in last chapter. I'd actually self-published that, and I was getting it into a series of bookshops and gift shops around London. I had little point of sale displays, and I was starting to see a steady trickle of income coming from selling the book. Probably sold about 6,000 copies, but there's going to be more on that a little bit later. Criticism and communication. An awful lot of people do not understand what communication really is. They say that you can flash a message around the world 6 times in a second, but it can take a lifetime to go that last millimetre. Why is that? Well, various things get in the way. Our attitude to somebody, the way in which they come across. Do we want to listen to them? Have we judged them? Are they speaking the same language? Is there a disconnect with that person? There's so much that gets in the way of communication. But there was a chap back in the 50s called Birdwhistell who was analysing language and communication. And he came up with a wonderful formula that fundamentally, when we're communicating, only 7% of our communication is the words that we use. 28% is the tonality, the tone of voice. Is it calm? Is it authoritative? Is it pleasing? Do we like it? Does it grate? So the tonality is incredibly important. But mainly our communication comes down to our body language, our sense of presence. 65% of communication is the way in which we visually represent. Now, I'll give you an example of this. I've been doing the Dale Carnegie instructor training, and the instructor of instructors had been asked to go to Sweden to train a cohort of Swedish instructors. Now, Mike did not understand Swedish at all, but he was able to discern whether they were being effective in doing their job of instructing a Dale Carnegie course by looking at the way they were doing it. It was the tonality. Were they following the structures? Were they doing the right things? Were they getting the audience engagement? And so he was able to ascertain whether they were fit for purpose or not just by being there in the room with them and observing and not understanding a word that was said. That's how powerful communication can be through the visual medium. Now, with all the years I'd now worked for Dale Carnegie, I was starting to make some progress. And I was actually considered one of the top salespeople in the world. As a result of that, I was invited to the annual conference, and that year it happened to be in San Diego. 3 big ticks from that conference. The smallest tick, I got a bonus check. The second tick, I actually got to dance with Dale Carnegie's widow, Dorothy. Biggest tick of all, I got to take Terry's daughter, Auret, to the grand black tie celebratory dinner. Biggest tick of all. So back to the theme of this chapter, this episode, criticism and communication. I've touched on communication. There's more on that in the book. Criticism. My good friend Bob from university was now living in San Diego. He'd just come out to me that he was gay. And we went down the gas lamp district in San Diego one night. He had a group of friends, and one of them took a particular dislike to me. Bob told me later, he said he thought you were a real arrogant CNT. And I just laughed. He said, "What are you laughing for?" I said, "Bob, you won't believe. That is such a wonderful compliment." He said, "No, I'm just giving you the criticism." No, Bob, I've learned years ago that criticism is just a mirror. What people see in others is what they see in themselves. So the fact that he called me that, really he's just talking about himself. If he sees something in me and he sees that I'm coming across that way, I'm saying, bring it on, because I want to be seen as confident. I want to be seen as somebody that's going to make waves. And if somebody sees me as arrogant, so be it. I'm just going to take it a compliment. To me, criticism is just a mirror. And if you want to test this, the next time you see somebody and you want to criticize them, look internally. You'll find that the seeds of your criticism are something that you need to resolve yourself inside. I'm going to leave it there. The book goes a lot deeper on this subject than I can possibly do in the 3 to 4 minutes I've got here. If you've liked this episode, give it a thumbs up, like it, share it with your friends, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for episode 24. Thank you very much.